That breaking news, an armed man shoots at Milwaukee Police detectives this afternoon, and one of the detectives was grazed by a bullet.
And police say that man is a person of interest in the homicide at the U.S. gas station on Green Bay Avenue. That happened this week.
The 21-year-old man is now in police custody.
And this all went down near Teutonia and Villard. Katie Crowther live near the scene right now. Katie, looks like they're lining up behind you. Chief Flynn is to speak.
That's exactly right, Courtney and Mike. They're getting ready to brief us on exactly what happened. As you said, they do have the suspect in custody, and he is tied to the homicide at the U.S. gas station on North Green Bay Avenue 2 days ago. I'm going to actually put the mic up on the stand now so we can get going with this, find out more from the chief himself. Hi, Chief.
Hello. Oops, sorry, 58. I don't know.
Can you start telling us what happened?
What's that? A Milwaukee Police detective was grazed by a bullet today, fired by a suspect armed with a semi-automatic pistol here on the 5200 block of West Villard. The detective was not injured. The detective and his partner returned fire several times, not striking the suspect. The suspect was apprehended after he discarded his weapon on the front lawn of the house behind me. He was arrested on the 3000 block of West Villard by responding officers. He was not injured in the shootout. The vehicle the officers were in was struck several times by bullets. The officer is a 35-year-old, 17-year veteran of the Milwaukee Police Department. The suspect was being investigated for his connection to a homicide that occurred June 17th at the USA gas station on North Green Bay Avenue. The detective and his partner are both assigned to the FBI Milwaukee Police Department Violent Crime Task Force. And I'm joined today by Special Agent in Charge Robert Shields of the FBI, as well as Assistant Chief James Harpole, and their Detective Commander, Captain Chad Wagner. That's the outline of what's occurred. I'll take a few questions as follow-up.
Can you describe what the officers, the detectives, the task force members were doing? They were pursuing a car, I understand. Can you talk a little bit about what they were hoping to get?
They were following a car that they recognized from a description that was wanted for questioning in connection with the homicide. When the car pulled to the side, the officers pulled to the side as well, whereupon one of the occupants of that vehicle exited that vehicle firing. They were under fire immediately. It was not a pursuit. They were following that car and followed it to this location where the gunfire ensued.
The person that was in that car, I understand, is not the suspected shooter in the homicide. Can you describe what you think his role was the other day?
We can't get too much into the detail. He's a person of interest. He is not, at this time, considered the suspect, but certainly today he brought a world of hurt on himself.
Has he been able to tell you where to find the suspect now that you've got him?
Well, the debriefing obviously will continue, the interviews will continue, and the investigation will continue.
Chief, this is a fairly busy street. The shooting happened around 2 o'clock. A lot of kids out here, a lot of families out here. What does this say about the guy who got out of the car? What does this say about the level of violence that's possible in the community?
Well, I mean, it's clear that this police department and its community are being confronted by a significant amount of firearms-related violence already. Much of this violence is driven by these crime crews, one of which we engaged in a takedown operation with just a couple of days ago. It's a fight. It's a fight between them and the police department and the community, and we're going to stick it out. We're going to prevail, but there's no question we've got young people out there, heavily armed, with no particular fear of law enforcement or any fear of hitting children, women, or other people as a result of their reckless use of firearms.
Do you have reason to believe that this suspect that you arrested today is part of a crime crew? And can you describe for us what you think the scenario was at the gas station the other day? Was it a master plan there?
Well, once again, for reasons I'm sure everyone can understand, we're not going to go into a lot of details about how the investigation of the homicide is progressing per se. There certainly are links to explore between this individual and the crime crews that we were engaged with earlier this week. That's one of the reasons why it was task force officers that were engaged in following this particular vehicle.
Alderman Hamilton called this a crisis the other day when he went to the scene of the gas station shooting. Can you characterize what this violence I don't know, would you call it a spate? Would you call it just a statistical anomaly? How would you characterize what we've been seeing lately?
Well, there certainly is a significant spike in the firearms-related violence this year compared to the last 6 years. It is reaching levels that were more common in the early years of this century, not the last several years. There are a number of dynamics behind it. We are doing our best to disaggregate that. Not all firearms violence is generated or motivated by the same things. Some aspects of it are gang and crime crew related. Some aspects of it are heavily armed strangers with criminal records getting into random beefs with each other. They're both significant, they're both important, and we're committed to continuing to interdict both. But we need help. We need help from the community to urge their young men to leave the guns at home. We need help from the rest of the criminal justice system. People have to be prosecuted. When they're found guilty, they've got to be given sentences that deter their future use of firearms. So it's a team effort. A lot of people are going to have to get involved and stay involved. We're committed, and we're committed to getting the community more involved as well.
How many shots fired, and how is your officer?
The officer is okay. He's uninjured. Obviously, he's a little shaken by the incident. We haven't counted all the rounds yet. Several rounds were fired by the suspect at the officers, several of them striking the car he was in, and our officers fired several rounds in return. Part of the investigation is accounting for all of them as well as the casings.
Gun hotline, have you gotten calls? Is it working?
We've gotten some calls on the gun hotline, and we're pursuing those leads that have come across, and we would certainly encourage people to continue to call us up about them. It's not just about us trying to make an arrest with it. Just tell us where a gun is. If you've got a loved one who's got a gun and you don't want them to take it outside, give us a call. We'll come pick it up. The challenge for us is to keep them out of the pockets of people with a criminal record. This guy's got a criminal record. He fits the profile precisely. He's got a half a dozen arrests. He may be gang involved, and his first instinct is to go for his gun when the cops pull him over. That's a dangerous recipe. He's fortunate he's not dead. We're fortunate our officer isn't injured.
What kind of record does he have?
He's got about a half a dozen arrests, including recklessly endangering safety, possession with intent to distribute, I think assault and battery, and random drug arrests.
Did you tell me how many shots were fired?
I said we haven't counted them yet. Several on both sides. All right? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Milwaukee Police Chief Ed Flynn briefing us on a shooting that occurred, really a shootout of sorts, on Milwaukee's north side involving a Milwaukee Police detective and a suspect in a homicide that occurred earlier in the week.